there, friends and sane persons. My name is Kyle. It's Wednesday, and so it's time for another episode of Wednesday Whimsy. I'm still in my upstairs studio, but that's fine. We'll have a good time here just the same. If it's your first time joining us, or of course, even if it's your not, Wednesday Whimsy is a short show I do every Wednesday around 7 p.m. my time, and we talk about a board game topic, a top 10, whatever I happen to be in the mood for. Today we're talking about a game that I talked about recently as a recent play, which is called, the game is called Bullet. Now, I say Bullet because the actual title of the game, there's three different versions. There's one with bullet and a picture of a star, one with bullet and a picture of a heart, and one with bullet and a picture of an orange. Because, of course, right? Let's see if I can show a picture here of the game. I'm sure I can. Let me figure out how to share the screen here just so you can see what I'm talking about. This is right here. Let's go. So, oh, hello. I see I'm having some issues. Let's stop that nonsense. Yeah. Anyway, so it's it's a game where there's bullet and then there we go. There's bullet and a picture of a star, for example, or a heart. Bullet heart's the original one. Anyway, now that we've wasted some time talking about that, let's talk about what the game is really about. So Bullet is supposed to simulate some sort of a game where you're shooting bullets at each other, dodging them out of the way, trying to dominate the world. It says it's a shoot 'em up puzzle action game. That's an unusual term, and I'm not sure what it even means. Really, what the game is it's a puzzle-style game. It's almost like if Dr. Mario were a board game, because you've got stuff coming in, you've got to deal with it, and if you deal with it properly, you're able to clear it off and send it to an opponent. It's kind of a last woman standing game. All the characters are women, so you're trying to survive. You're trying to inhibit your opponent and just make it to the end, be the last person standing. And it's a really fast, really pretty easy to play game. Each round is going to take 3 minutes or less. It's actually a real-time timed game, so there's that. But it's really kind of like a Dr. Mario style game, but with this anime style art and a nice sort of board game feel. Let's talk about briefly how the game works. So let me stop sharing there for a minute. So in the game, you're going to be taking on the role of a character. They're called heroes. For example, I have here this one, Esfir Volkova. You can read about the background of each character in the rule book or on a separate sheet, depending on which version you have. But this character has a special ability, has 4 life, and then has a series of actions that she can perform. So each round, you're going to get 7 action points, 7 energy, whatever you want to call it. And it's possible by manipulating your pattern to get more. And so what you're going to do is you'll set a timer for 3 minutes, and you're going to take a certain number of chips based upon the round, the intensity of the round. You're going to put them into your bag. It's called your current. The game uses some weird terms. And you're just going to go. And as soon as that timer starts, you can take whatever actions you would like for the course of the game. One action you can take is just to take out a bullet and place it. So you're going to draw something out. For example, this is a green 3, and you have this board here. And so you're going to go to the green column, which is here, and it's going to go 1, 2, 3 spaces and sit right there. Okay? Now, that's a simple example, but the bullets are going to quickly stack up. So, for example, if I had this blue 2, it would go into the blue column. But then if I later on drew this blue 3, it's going to skip over the occupied space. So it would go 1, it's hard to do backwards, 1, 2, 3. And so you end up, there you go, good job, Kyle. You end up, as these things start to get full, you end up having fewer and fewer free spaces because any occupied space is going to be skipped when something is placed. The bullets range in value from 1 to 4. I don't know the probability of a particular number, but I assume 4s are fewer in number. And you're going to go and you must place all of your bullets during the round. If you don't and the time runs out, then they all just kind of get dumped on you. But then in addition to that, as part of the action phase, which again is happening simultaneously, you can spend your energy to activate these abilities. Like this character can move a bullet to the left, to the right, or down one space, or she can move it up by spending 2 energy, or she can even drop it all the way down by spending 2 energy. Various actions there. She can also draw patterns. And the patterns are really what the game is about, because as the game goes on, you're going to be trying to arrange these bullets in a series of patterns. For example, here's a pattern. And you're normally going to have 3, although her ability is that she has 4 at the start of the round. So she wants to have a value 3 bullet with nothing around it. And then if she does so, she can activate the card and clear the 3 bullets that are on top of that grouping. And there's a variety of different ones. For example, this is 2 bullets that are the same number with a space between them. The space could be full or empty in that case. And then she clears the bullets below them. When you clear bullets, you take them and you pass them to the character to your left. And then in the next round, that player is going to draw the intensity of the round, whatever number this chart shows, plus any bullets that were sent into her incoming during the course of the round. So if you have a really good round and clear a lot of your patterns, then you're able to send a whole mess of things over to your opponent to make things more difficult for your opponent to deal with. And you're going to do successive 3-minute rounds until somebody dies. Now you get hit, you take a damage if ever a bullet would be placed and there's no room for it. For example, if the top few were full and you got a big number, there wouldn't be room for it, so it would go down to the bottom. It shifts over, and it goes, and you take a damage. And each character has a different amount of health. Most of them have 4. For example, this character you see has 4 health. Some of them have, I've seen as few as 2, so based on the abilities. And once if you're eliminated, you're done. And then the other players are going to stay in the game and continue to play without you. Normally, though, at that point, especially if you're playing 2-player, obviously, if you're eliminated, you just lose. But it's pretty fast, pretty simple. The other thing, though, and I do need to talk about it, is that the game has a solo mode. So in a solo mode, you're going to be playing against the boss side of the character. And the boss side of the character has a certain number of health and a certain break point. You need to send so many bullets over in a round to break one of the shields that goes on this boss card. And the boss is also going to be having some special abilities. She could, for example, this one plays with 8 boss cards, and she can have multiple effective at one time. But what the boss card does is at the end of the round, you're going to check and see if you have this pattern. If you have the pattern on your board, no problem. If you don't, you're going to suffer the penalty that's at the bottom. That's how most bosses work. And you're just playing. You don't necessarily need to use the timer for a boss battle because it's just you against the boss. And you're going to play until either you have died or you've done enough damage to knock out the boss by breaking all of her shields on her board. And so that's the rules don't really change other than the fact that the boss has one pattern that you're trying to make, and you're going to see if you win or lose. So that's how the game works. So let's talk about what makes the game special. And there's a lot to love about this game. One thing that's special about it is how fast it is. Because it's a real-time game, there's really never downtime, right? I mean, you hit that timer, and you can use any 3-minute timer, or you can download these soundtracks that are customized to the characters that are exactly 3 minutes long, however you want to do it. The rules are very simple. You already know how to play. I mean, each character has some slight nuances, but on the whole, it is pretty much what I just explained to you. The characters are all unique and feel different. There's not a single one that feels like a repeat. They all have a slight different special ability. They have different pattern complexity. There's one character, probably my favorite one, and her thing is that she has 20 pattern cards, and they're all in her hand at the beginning of the game. And then as she plays them, she never gets them back. Most of the characters, after you play them, they go into a discard pile, and you can eventually reshuffle them and draw them back. So she has a lot of resources at the beginning of the game, and then as the game goes on, it becomes tighter and tighter for her. There's one where she only has a little bit of life, but the cards that she plays all have a certain symbol on them. And if she gets hit by any bullets of that color, she doesn't get hit. She sends them to the opponent instead. A lot of differences. The characters all feel different. They all add a different flavor to the game. Some are easier, some are harder. But whatever you get, it's going to be different and be fun and interesting. And that's a great thing about the game. Because it's real time, another great thing about it is that people are always involved. I mentioned that it was fast, but in this one, there's just never a moment where you're kind of sitting around waiting for, oh my goodness, what's this player going to do? Now, you could play without the timer. And honestly, when I'm teaching the game, I usually will say, let's play the first round without a timer. But then I immediately want to add it in because that pressure makes things go. Now, 3 minutes is plenty of time to clear a normal bag, but it's just enough pressure that you don't get somebody who's sitting there wondering and dithering and can't figure out what to do. I enjoy the artwork in the game. It's this, anime style artwork like I showed you on this one. That might be a good thing or a bad thing for other people. I don't know. But for me, I enjoy that world, and I enjoy the world that this is created. I don't think these are characters from anything, although apparently the Bullet Orange set, those characters are from a video game. But other than that, I think they're original characters that just kind of exist in this world. So there's a lot really to like about this game. Oh, one more thing that I love about it is that it has a fantastic solo mode. The originally I played it solo and I was underwhelmed because I think I picked a very complicated boss and couldn't figure out some of the interactions. But after I went back to it, the solo is very satisfying, and I've played all of the characters, both as active characters and as solo bosses. And I find it to be a very engaging solo game that you can play in just a few minutes and just have a really good time with. And the last kind of special thing about it is that there are really three sets, right? There's Bullet Star, there's Bullet Heart, and both of those are standalone games, which you could buy and play by yourself. Each one has, I don't know, 10 characters or so. And then Bullet Orange is an expansion that can be played with either Heart or Star. Or if you have them all, you can just mix them all together. There's no reason you would ever need to separate them out. They're fully compatible. So lots of expandability there, lots of different things to try. So let's talk about now the but, right? What else is there that might be negative about the game? The first thing is the real-time element. Now, I think that's something that makes it special, but a lot of people might be put off by this. Some people especially people who are very thoughtful about their games, tend to find real-time elements to be stressful. And so that's a trade-off, of course, to keeping everything involved and moving, is it might be a little bit stressful for some people. Not for me. I will always play it with the timer, but just be aware it might vary based upon the people you play with. Also, another kind of negative about it, there are some interactions that might not be immediately clear. I wish that the rules were a little bit clearer. I wish there was a lengthy FAQ for each character that kind of contemplated all of the different interactions and all of the way things. For example, there's one character who she doesn't take damage. If she takes damage, instead she spends 2 energy, and she loses if ever she's at 0 energy. But it's not clear right away if that means if she spends her last energy, she's dead, or only if she gets knocked down to 0 by being hit. Things like that I just wish were a little tighter, and that might make some of the interactions a little bit easier to judge. Because it's real time, of course, you have to also trust everybody to kind of manage their own expectations and their own characters and their own kind of rules involvement, because you really can't watch and make sure people are doing things right. There's also a bit of a disconnect between the theme of the game and the mechanisms. It's really pulling things out and manipulating them on a board to make patterns. It's not really a fight between anime characters throwing bullets back at each other, shooting at each other. It's just kind of moving things around. Now, that's not bad. It's just a very abstract game that you wouldn't know immediately by looking at the box. So be aware of that. Also, the components. Now, this is a mixed bag for me. In the base game, they're just these very chintzy cardboard chips. I'm sure they're fine, but I got the deluxe edition, which came with these really nice wooden chips, which are very satisfying to pull out of the bag. Definitely something I would recommend if you like the game. You can play with the chintzy chips if you want, but these are much nicer. The components, other than that, are not bad. It's just that the chips themselves, the sort of star of the show, I worry that they would wear through very quickly if you played this game a lot using just kind of the base cardboard ones that come in the box. So that's kind of, this might be a short one today. What's my rating here? My rating is it's an 8 out of 10 as just a game. Okay. Play with two players, is the best. I will say that. It definitely, the more players you add, even though it doesn't add a lot of time or complexity, you definitely, because you're only affecting the player to your left and only being affected by the player to your right, if players are at uneven skill levels, some players might end up having an easier time than others. If I've played the game 15 times and you're on your first time, and then there's another player to your left that's played it 15 times, right? Your position in that might end up affecting the two of us, the two more experienced players, how we do. Which could lead to some imbalance, but that's okay. It's a very light game. It's not the kind of thing you'd get upset about. You can easily set it up and play it again. But I will say that as a two-player game, it really shines. And as a solo, I might even go as high as a 9 out of 10. It is one of my favorite solo games. I had forgotten about it even when I did my top 10 solo games list a while ago. But it really works well. It's very satisfying, very fast, very easy, quick to set up, everything I'm kind of looking for in a solo game. So somewhere between an 8 and a 9 is my rating on this thing. Which one should you get first? Well, that's not one of my usual comments, but Star and Heart are the same. I do think some of the characters in Heart are a little bit easier to understand. So that might be the best jumping on point, but getting Bullet Star is just as good. Those characters are a lot of fun too. And honestly, I know it's written on the characters, like on their sheets. It kind of indicates like this character is from Heart. The other ones have a star or an orange on them. But I couldn't tell you without that cue whether something came from Star or Heart or Orange. I think they're all equally enjoyable. The box will tell you whether they're difficult or not difficult, or easy or complex, however you want to call it. But I don't know that I would go by that. It really just depends on what you like. So I would probably get Heart first, then Star, then Orange. But honestly, if you like the game, get all three. Definitely one you should try if you're interested in. It's very available right now, which is good. The only issue is I think these deluxe components, you need to purchase them from the Level 99 game store, and they will charge you an arm and a leg for shipping. Whereas you can buy the base games from any game store you like. I think they're available everywhere online, and you can get a much more reasonable shipping price there. So just be aware of that, but I do think it is worth it if you like the game a lot to go for these deluxe chips. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Bullet. It's a short one today, but hey, it's a short game, but one I've really been enjoying lately, and one that I highly recommend to anyone who's interested in something that works well solo or as a two-player game that's fast and furious and frenetic, but also a lot of fun. Anyway, that's it for Wednesday Whimsy this week. We will see you again next week. Same time, same channel. Have a good night. Bye-bye.